Here at Yuba Pass, a little bit of snow left. North Fork of the Yuba River. Check out the color of the water. Now check it out a little bit downstream. Fork of the Yuba here at Schaefer's Creek. Look how brown it is. And the snow line's about 6,000 feet. Brown coming from all the mud. But it clears up pretty good downstream.
Made up my mind, make a new start, going to California to make you my life.
Now she's picking up some steam.
Someone told me the girl out there coming right about.
Nice and brown. Down here at the Sierra Nevada Field campus. Bassett's still pretty muddy.
Took my chances on a big red plane.
Downstream from a couple of tributaries, Salmon Creek and Howard Creek, she really starts moving. Wild Plum near Sierra City, and I forgot the name of this tributary here. Below Sierra City, still real brown.
Ride a white dawn, try to find a way. Standing on a hill in the mountain of dreams, telling myself it's not as hard as it seems.
Where the North Fork on on the right merges with the Downey River on the left, nearly doubling the flow of the North Fork of the Yuba River. So I hope you enjoyed this sunset cruise down the North Fork of the Yuba River today, the 5th of June, 2019. Of course, from here, the water heads on down to Bullard's Bar Reservoir, where fortunately some of it is saved for a non-rainy day. We never know what next year is going to bring. Stay out of the water here in the mountains. It's going to take a while for these rivers to simmer down. See you here.
This is a story of gumption, perseverance, and damn luck. It starts with this man.
Charles Lytton was Einstein brilliant.
He was a genius, made countless contributions to the high technology of his time, vacuum tubes. In 1953, he moved from a young Silicon Valley to Grass Valley, California.
I think that's what happens, right? A lot of us, we found a way to get to Nevada City, Grass Valley, or we found it for the first time, and we don't want to leave.
Soon after, he talked his friend Dr. Donald Hare into starting his engineering business in the same mountain town.
Doc Hare, Grass Valley, I believe came to Grass Valley almost as much for the area as everybody else, but he knew Lytton.
Doc Hare and a small cadre of incredibly talented engineers quickly made their mark on a new technology that was captivating the world: television.
Grass Valley knew how to do things with a transistor that previously took a tube.
What came next is decades of innovation, ultimately leading to dozens of spin-offs and related technology companies who themselves made countless world-changing contributions.
How they got to television is this circuitous path of technology that I don't think anyone would ever predict.
The fact that any of this happened at all is technically improbable.
Fun and hanging out with people that you know and friends and getting to sing and have a good time.
Actually, you don't have to be like a singer or trained singer or anything like that, so it's a community event. The fellow that conducts it, puts it on, he drills everybody in the different harmony parts, so it's super friendly, real community friendly. It's not about the quality of your singing, it's just about the participation.
I think I've been to 4 or 5 of these ever since it started last year, and it's really fun. I keep coming back because it's a lot of fun.
What are you guys looking forward to tonight?
I'm really looking forward to singing.
Juan Browne for the Grass Valley Union on a sultry summer night here at the Willow. If 5 days of banjo music wasn't enough at the Grass Valley Bluegrass Festival, folks just can't get enough of it. And there's one more night of banjo with a very special guest, Dan Walsh from the UK.
Oh.
What are you doing all the way out here at the Willow in California playing banjo?
Yeah, good question. Well, I tour the States every couple of years because it's the banjo capital of the world after all. I was actually asked to teach at a thing called the Midwest Banjo Camp, so that was over in the Midwest, which I know is not near here. But I've come here twice before and absolutely love it. And I had a little window in my schedule to come here and do another tour. So I thought, as I was in the country already, I'd come back to California and come back to Nevada City. It's my second gig here, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, great. And so how many years have you been... First, let's talk about your style of banjo. You're playing old-timey clawhammer style banjo, correct?
Yes.
But you're using the Deering metal.
Yes. I play a bluegrass banjo, yes, which I didn't know was kind of viewed as sacrilege until I actually did it. So basically, I learned on an open back when I was growing up, and then when I got to university, I was in a lot of Celtic sessions where I was like one banjo player competing with 8 fiddlers and 7 accordionists and God knows what. So I needed a loud banjo, so I went to a shop to try a few. Chose this one, and well, not this one, but a similar model to this one. And kind of stuck with it, but I didn't. As I say, it was only afterwards that I became aware that some of the old-time community viewed this as a mortal
blasphemy.
sin.
But it's got the projection that you want, right?
And I think also because even though I play clawhammer style, I don't play that much old-timey material, which is not because I don't like it, just because there's lots of people who are very, very good at it already. Whereas I think my speciality is more towards the Celtic and bluegrass end of things. So I kind of use clawhammer to play other stuff, and I think a resonator suits me, suits my style.
Which is pretty unique to play clawhammer style. Give us an example, a short, quick example of one of these reels, for example, that you've been playing, an Irish kind of tune.
Yeah.
Clawhammer style.
So something like this.
And now you've got this really unique tune that I saw on YouTube that just hooked me in totally. This tune that you developed at a jam in Calcutta or something? What's the story with that?
Sure, yeah. So I ended up in a project in Calcutta in India with there were 4 Brits and 6 Indians, or they were from India, Bangladesh and Pakistan, and we kind of just sat around jamming for 2 weeks basically, which was a lot of fun. Of course I didn't have a clue what I was doing because I never played Indian music in my life, but I kind of cottoned on to some of the things that they do. So I cottoned on to kind of some of the scales that they use, but also some of the kind of they have kind of cues that they have. So in the same way that in bluegrass jams, there's kind of unwritten rules that you sort of know. So people who've never played together before can kind of join in and kind of know roughly what's going to happen. And I guess Indian music has some of those too. It's just they're obviously completely different.
And what are the cues over there? Were they musical cues or were they visual cues?
A little bit of both, mostly musical cues.
Okay.
So they have a particular thing where when it's the end of a section or the end of a solo, they have like a little
drum thing.
It's exactly. It's usually on the tablet, so it's like a. So there's always 3 of those.
Okay, 3 potatoes, but
exactly. So when you do a big long solo and you're bored and you get to the end, if you do that cue, then that's everybody's cue to kind of move to the next section.
Let's hear a little section of that, especially the really bendy notes that you're throwing in there, the crazy hammer-ons and bends you do.
Well, I wrote this as a kind of hybrid of reel and raga, if you like. So this is called whiplash reel.
Amazing. Wow, neat stuff. Crazy hammer-ons and pull-offs. Dan Walsh, you're available all throughout social media, Facebook, YouTube,
Twitter,
that sort of thing. And You gonna come back through hopefully in the future?
Oh, try and stop me, yeah. I love coming out here.
What is it about California you like coming out here for?
I love the people, to be honest. I find the atmosphere just fantastic, and every gig I've done out here, I've just had a really nice, a really nice response, and kind of it feels like more than just a gig. It kind of feels like being welcomed into a sort of
community,
group of friends, and that's really great.
Yeah. And what part of the UK are you from?
So I grew up in Stafford, but I now live in Shrewsbury.
James, where's that located roughly?
Shrewsbury, so Shropshire.
Right, okay.
So kind of West Midlands, on the Welsh border.
Oh, all the way up toward Wales. Wow, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Dan Walsh, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you here.
Look forward to it.
Good.
I think kids think vaping is cool. Vaping is the new norm. Vaping is awesome. If you don't vape, you're weird.
Just makes you look like the tough guy, I guess. Breathing like a dragon. Exactly.
Constantly, there's kids in the bathrooms, so it's hard to go and use the bathrooms in class.
When it comes to vaping, most kids just do it because they want something to like feel like they're like everybody else.
Now we're seeing it cross lines where it's, everywhere from athletes to kids in the auto shop, and basically it's getting through all groups now, so.
Vaping is a way for people to get their nicotine fix, essentially. It uses a solution that contains nicotine and other flavorings and other chemicals, and then it heats it up to high temperatures and you inhale it, and that's how you absorb the nicotine into your system.
I don't know what's in any of the vaping products.
I don't think they care about what's in it. I think it's the feeling that they get from it.
I don't think that kids think that vaping is the same as cigarettes. I think they think it's safer.
A lot of people think that e-cigarettes produce a water vapor, and in truth, they actually produce an aerosol. And this aerosol contains a lot of chemicals, including benzene, formaldehyde, cadmium, things that we know cause cancer, birth defects, and other health problems.
The way they package it makes it look cool to kids.
They make the devices in really strategic ways. I mean, there's a product called Juul. It's like a flash drive. And kids love sneaking these things into class and using them and hiding them, and teachers are kind of none the wiser. It's really crazy.
I know some people who have had like a cast from breaking their wrist and they've put a device inside of it.
Or they'll take their Juul and put in the water bottle tip, like the little tip that flips up. They use that.
They produce these products in all kinds of flavors that are really enticing to kids. They have cherry and bubblegum, cereal flavors.
First they start out with juice that is just flavored, and then all of a sudden somebody puts some nicotine juice in there, and then we've even heard that they mix the marijuana liquid with the vape liquid, so you can't really tell what it is.
It oftentimes can lead to dual use, where kids are using both nicotine and marijuana, and we absolutely don't want to see that.
I would say 90% of my friends smoke. It's just, you want to hang out? Cool, where are we smoking?
I think parents should know that it's really easy to get vape or marijuana and that everybody does it.
So many people do it that it's just like the normal now.
I know some of my friends smoke to get away from life. They smoke to not feel pain and resentment with their family. If you're going through something at home or in school, it's so much easier to just let it all go and feel nothing.
Dealing with an addiction is one of the hardest things that I've ever dealt with. My name is Isaiah Markham, and I'm 20. So I first tried vaping because of the flavors, and it was kind of just like moving on with my nicotine habit, finding another way to do it without it like tasting as bad or like being as gross. And it was definitely a lot easier to hide than a pack of cigarettes. So the first time I tried weed was my freshman year too as well. They had vape pen ones too, and so that kind of like incorporated two things that I already did together.
The first signs of Isaiah going down this path of addiction was, first he'd get really agitated, really easy. Then the grades started to slip. And then he was starting to ditch classes. And then once his GPA got to a certain level, he was kicked out of sports, which was really, really damaging to him. And I realized there was a bigger problem. And of course, we discovered he was smoking weed at that time.
Like, I played baseball for 9 years, and I was good. Sophomore year was the last year that I played because I started smoking a lot. My grades started going down. I lost my motivation, and so I didn't want to be in class. I didn't want to be at school.
You know, I just kept thinking, not Isaiah. Isaiah's not going to get caught up in all of this.
And then senior year, I just got really bad. I started smoking all the time. Smoked like every day senior year.
When we realized we had an addiction issue with marijuana, I really was proactive, and I left no stone unturned. Chased down the schools, drug testing him regularly, taking away preferred items, having to call the police when he went into rages.
So at my peak, probably about every 15 minutes I would get up and I would smoke. I was like out of my mind stone through most of the day, and so I couldn't function. I couldn't do anything. I just sat at home all day. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't have any motivation.
I was the mom of the star pitcher, and then all of a sudden, I saw my child, and I was fearful that he was going to die. No one ever saw it coming. Not my kid.
And I ended up in the hospital actually with pneumonia, which was caused from like vaping and smoking weed because all the fluid and just smoke going into my lungs. I missed years of my little brother and sister's life, and that's A, something I'll never forgive myself for, and B, something I'm gonna have to spend the rest of my life trying to make up.
Now that Isaiah is not smoking marijuana, I feel like I have my son back. I'm seeing his personality again, his motivation, his drive to want to do things in life and have a future. I don't go to bed every night praying he doesn't die.
Many youth don't think marijuana is dangerous for their health. There's really been a drop in the perception of harm. However, the irony is it's actually much riskier today because it has become so potent.
Hippies smoked weed in the 60s, and they were getting high on THC levels of 2 to 3%. But right now, the average marijuana in California, the average has 25% THC.
We're worried about these high levels of THC, or tetrahydrocannabinol, because that is the chemical in marijuana that makes a person high.
I think that parents are probably not as familiar with the marijuana products that are available today. The marijuana is so highly potent, and then there's the condensed versions, the oils, the honey oils, and then the edibles, which are extremely potent.
We are seeing young people who are addicted to marijuana, where in the past it wasn't an addictive substance because it was not as strong as it is today.
The brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. So when we're thinking about a teenager, that brain is still very vulnerable to the effects of chemicals.
The health risks are a lot greater for somebody under the age of 25, so the longer they can delay in trying these products, the less risk that they're going to be addicted or have serious problems from using them.
We're seeing kids use marijuana younger and younger. More teens are presenting for issues at the emergency department just from marijuana use. Some of those things are vomiting that can't stop, and even episodes of psychoses.
The danger of children learning how to cope with stress or frustration using chemicals is they develop a chemical coping strategy, and that habit, as it continues into adulthood, becomes extremely hard to break.
Parents can feel overwhelmed when they learn all this information, but there are actually a lot of things that they can do in order to support their teens. One of the most important is to really try to keep the lines of communication open, trying to find ways where they can talk about vaping and using marijuana. Do they have friends who are doing it? What do they think about it? Make sure they're clear on what the health risks are.
You have to have that relationship, at least in some way, from the beginning. Because if suddenly it's like, okay, let's go have a moment, let's go have a conversation, kids are going to be like, what is going on?
It's also really important to have clear family rules around substance use. It doesn't matter what other families are doing. What's important is what you decide in your home is okay and not okay, and what the consequences are. It can be fun to role play together. Maybe you're at a party and somebody's offering you something. How would you handle it? What would you say? If they think some of these things through ahead of time, they're much more likely to make a decision that they feel good about than if they're making decisions in the spur of the moment. Teens today, just across the board, are dealing with a lot of stress, more so than in the past.
And then they're turning to things like vaping and marijuana just as a coping skill. It's easier to tune that out and not deal with it at all. And then those are the students that we see really struggling in the long term.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we introduce positive coping strategies for our youth. I believe that as humans, the more healthy coping strategies we have, it just naturally, weeds out or pushes out the less healthy coping strategies.
It's also really helpful to talk to your sons and daughters about what their long-term goals are. Do they want to go to college? Do they want to play sports? And how making certain choices might get in the way of those goals.
When parents have this situation come up with their child experimenting, going to a place of fear and judgment usually turns the kids off and has them disconnect from us even more.
I think it's really important as the parent to remain calm as much as we can and just really listen to our child.
The goal should be to keep the conversation going with the objective being, okay, so if you're going to find yourselves in these situations, how is it that you can be safe?
So when we have our first conversation with a child about that, coming from a place of non-judgment and knowing we're going to listen and ask questions, that's going to be a real good starting place as opposed to coming from fear and anger.
It's a scary situation, so there's a lot of support out there. You can get it immediately. You can walk into any sort of treatment facility and ask for that support, and you shouldn't be afraid to get the help that you need in order to support your student.
And I think it's really important to not underestimate the influence parents have on their teen lives, to work on keeping those lines of communication open, to stay connected, and to see the relationship really as a partnership so that you're working together around issues of vaping and marijuana and not in opposition.